Hello and welcome to World Environment Day 2023 or World Environment Day Week. I'm the author of the Wildlife Wong series of books for children from 8 to 12. The Wildlife Wong series was shortlisted for an Educational Publishing Award in 2022, which I'm really excited about. Today we're launching the newest book in the series. It's called Wildlife Wong and the Sumatran Rhino, and it's awesome to have you here. Let me start by telling you a little bit about Sumatran rhinos. Sumatran rhinos are related to an ancient creature called the woolly rhino, which was on Earth at the same time as the dinosaurs. They are the smallest rhino in the world, and unlike those in Africa, they're hairy. Sumatran rhinos are critically endangered, which means if we don't do anything really soon, they'll be gone by the time you're my age. Now, Wildlife Wong and the Sumatran Rhino tells the real-life adventure stories about my friend, Dr. Wong Suti, or Wildlife Wong. Wong is a scientist, and he spent years living in the jungle in an island called Borneo, studying and surveying wild animals. One of those animals was a Sumatran rhino. Wong was on the front line of trying to fight against extinction for this amazing creature, because he was trying to find out how many rhinos still existed in the wild so the government could learn how to save them. Wong still lives in the rainforest in Borneo, and he's still looking after animals. He now runs a very special rescue center for sun bears called the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center. You'll get to meet Wong really soon. You're also going to meet a few other people who made this book come alive, because there's far more to publishing a book than just writing the story. Are you ready to meet Wildlife Wong? How are the bears going today?
Well, the bears are doing really well. Last night we got heavy rain and the forest is very wet this morning and the bears are very active. One thing for sure is that the earthworms activities also increase as well. And then the bears are busy digging.
Can you tell us why science is so important?
Well, I think science is important because, through science, what we're trying to do is to do research on the current or the actual situations that are happening, whether it is on wildlife, on the environments, on the rainforests and natures and so on. And then we can use this data that we collected to do a series of analysis. And then through that kind of analysis, we can know the situation or the current situation of that particular, say, for example, sun bears doing in the wild. And then at the same time, to doing scientific research, you also can manage to learn about the natural history of the animals or plant or whatever. And then you use that kind of scientific information to aid, to help decision makings. Yeah.
That's really important, isn't it? Because the more we know, the more we can help, or the more we can actually make really valid decisions. So if any children are watching and they think, I'd really love to help save species from extinction and be a scientist, what sort of advice would you give them?
Well, my advice would be like study hard, do well in school. I think so. For me, I studied wildlife biology. Actually, before I studied wildlife biology, I have a diploma on veterinary. So I've been working with animals. I'm learning a lot of things about animals' health and then treatments, during my veterinary courses. And then when I study wildlife biology, that is more towards the management, the biology of any wildlife, whether mammals, birds, and then it actually enhanced my professional knowledge. So one day, right now, I'm a wildlife biologist. And then, of course, right now, there's so many means of getting information, not only through school, but through internet, by visiting wild places, by visiting good zoos. At the same time, the love or your passion, your interest will also growing as well. Once you learn more about it, you start to care, and you learn more about it, you start to care, and then to a point you want to take action.
In Wildlife Wong and the Sumatran Rhino, we learn about your hobby of taxidermy. And that's going to be a new concept for many people watching. Can you tell us what taxidermy is and why you enjoy it so much?
Okay, so taxidermy is actually skinning an animal, preserving an animals into either a display specimens or a scientific specimens for future reference. In the process of taking care of animals, or sometimes I come across roadkill animals, roadkill wildlife, and it's such a waste or such a shame that we don't preserve, say for example, their skins, their bones. Taxidermy is an art. It's an art of preserving or making an animals look alive again. For me, I can give the animals a second chance to be alive again, and then a good taxidermy specimens is actually a good learning tool. Is not just for there. It's about the specialties about the animals, and so that people will get connected. People will start to spark the interest, and they will contribute towards the science.
Yeah, so it is an important part of the story we've told with Wildlife Wong and the Sumatran Rhino. And since we met in 2012, Sumatran rhinos have gone extinct in the wild in Malaysia. But there are still rhinos in the wild in Indonesian Borneo. Do you think the stories that you and I are telling, your stories, can help raise awareness on endangered animals?
Yes, absolutely. Sumatran rhinoceros is a good example that, first of all this wildlife are precious. All these wildlife are fragile in terms of their populations, and then they live in rainforest. The amount of forest reflects on the amount of habitat that they have, or the places where they can survive. If we were to save or to ensure their survival, the very first thing that we need to do is to protect the forest. The forest gives us clean air, clean water, and stable climates. So extinction is something that we all should avoid, because one extinction happen, we will never return back. It's such a sad case that the Sumatran rhinoceros in Malaysia have gone extinct in our country. And then hopefully the story that we share will spark interest or will spark awareness of how important the protections or the conservations of wildlife or endangered wildlife species is, so that we can prevent extinction, so that we can protect the wildlife that is still remaining right now, when we still can save them. Don't wait until they gone extinct, or don't wait until the population go down to a few individuals, then we want to save them. That will be too late.
That's really important, considering that you're working at the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre and trying to make sure that sun bears don't go extinct. Some of the learning from the Sumatran rhinos can be linked to the sun bear conservation too, can't it? Now, when we first met, I was amazed with the work you're doing with the sun bears, and I asked you what I could do to help. Can you remember what you said to me?
Yeah, so absolutely. I tell you, do what you do best to help the sun bears, isn't it, Sarah?
Yes, it was. That's led us on
Yeah.
a bit of a long journey, hasn't it, Wong?
Yes, absolutely. You will think about, sun bear being the least known bear in the world, have very few people helping sun bears, and helping a species really require a lots of help from many, many people. Just think about, do what you do best. There is always a room for anybody with the strength that they have, with the skill that they have, to help the sun bears. And sun bear need you, believe me.
It's been a real honor for me to tell your stories. So thanks so much for letting me do that.
It has been a pleasure working with you as well, Sarah.
Now let's meet some of the other people who were involved. I'd like to introduce you to Woon Bing Chang. He is a book illustrator, and Woon Bing also lives in Malaysia. Welcome, Woon Bing. Really good to see you. Now, when I asked you if you would like to be the illustrator for this book, you were really excited. So can you tell me why?
Yeah, when I was 12 years old, I went to a nature camp. As part of the program from the camp, we went to a wildlife conservation center to see Sumatran rhino. They actually even allowed us to jump into the enclosure to interact with them. Yeah, so they're actually not that big, but very gentle creature. So very muddy also. So we jump in and then we can actually, they actually let us like put our hands on their belly and feel their breathing. So it's a really special experience.
That's really amazing, considering how endangered they are. It's incredible that they allowed you to go in. I'm certainly in awe of that because I've never actually met a Sumatran rhino myself. So it's really amazing that you were able to do that. And I imagine it helped with the actual drawing process because you had some personal experience as well.
It's a bit hard to believe that they're gone now from Malaysia, I mean.
Yes, it certainly is. One of the reasons I wanted to write this book is to let people know that extinction is a real thing. It's not just a concept, and it's happening in our time, not just a long time ago. When I actually asked you to do these pictures, I gave you a sort of a concept of what pictures I would like to have. And then can you tell us a little bit about the process after that?
Okay. So usually when I'm given the story, so I'll try to read it and understand the context behind it. And then after that, I'll try to do some research online to better understand and to see how things are supposed to look like. Things are in the right sizes compared to each other. I'll do the draft or the rough drawing using the computer because it's easier for me to move things around and also to change the size. Then I'll print them out, or I will refer to them to create the actual drawing on pencil.
Yes, it was really important for me to have sketches that looked like field notes that a scientist would actually make. Did you find that difficult?
I think it's okay, just that it has been a long time since I do like pencil traditionally.
Yeah. So it's taking you back to basics just a little bit. I really love what you've done. So thank you so much. I hope all the people who read the book will as well. If any of those people are, especially the children, are interested in becoming a book illustrator, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, sure. I think for kids this day, it's like just do it. Draw pictures for story that's written by your friends or stories that you read. Just practice telling stories with pictures and also sharing them to people, because that's also part of it. If you want to be a book illustrator, your pictures will be seen by people. If you find it hard at the start, just start something small. Just do small projects, and then you finish one and then you do another one, and then eventually you will sort of get used to it. Yeah, there are also many ways to get your work published these days. Like you can publish it yourself, you can share it online, you can do ebooks.
Yes, absolutely. The publishing industry has changed so drastically, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's also a lot of like print on demand services. Like I think there are definitely more ways to get your books out there now compared to maybe like 10 years ago.
Absolutely, and I agree, because these are self-published books. Now, thank you so much for all the work you've done. I will be getting a copy to you soon, and I'm really looking forward to your input.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the project. Yeah.
Each of the Wildlife Wong books includes experiments which link to the story. Amber Grant is studying how to be a secondary school teacher. She helped create the videos of these experiments, and you can find them on my website. Welcome, Amber. I'm going to play part of the video that we created about making a rhino model. Can you tell me, was it fun working out how to make the rhino model?
It was so much fun, more fun than I actually expected. It was at times a bit tough, obviously chopping and changing things, trying to figure out what worked and what didn't work. But in the end, it worked out fantastically. And it was using a lot of materials that I guess you never would have used unless it was for a project like this.
That's actually interesting, isn't it? Because we try to use all recycled products or things that people would have handy somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You did such a fantastic job painting the rainforest habitat that the rhino eventually lives in. Can you tell me, is this a time when kids can get super creative?
Oh, definitely. At times I felt I was possibly being even too creative, if that's even a thing. There's just so many things you can add to it, ways you can put your own spin on things with the painting or the adding of different trees and rocks and even rivers, all sorts of things. You can make whatever comes to your mind. It's insanely creative.
So as a teacher, you could use this in, I guess, in art class, and you could use it in science class and even English, really, couldn't you? It's a bit multidisciplinary.
Definitely. I'd say it's super suitable for primary age. And I think it would be fantastic to even implement this in schools. Kids could bring in their own recyclable things, and teachers can help out with building all these awesome stuff.
That's great. Thank you so much for all your help, Amber. I couldn't do it without you.
No worries. Thank you for including me in it.
When the entire story and experiments are finished, I send the book or manuscript to 3 young people who tell me what they think. This is super important because there's no use writing a book for kids if kids won't read it. One of those young reviewers for Wildlife Wong and the Sumatran Rhino was Bailey. Welcome, Bailey. Would you like to share with us what you liked most about the book, Bailey?
I will, thank you. And I really like that Wong tried a lot of new things like taxidermy, which I thought was very interesting.
So did you know what taxidermy was beforehand?
Oh no, I didn't even know it existed beforehand.
Does it make you want to try it?
Oh yes, I really want to try it.
That's very cool. What else did you like?
I really like that you, throughout the book, with complicating words, you'd bold them and you would explain them throughout the book or at the end of the book, which I thought was very good, and I could understand the book more and enjoy it.
That's really good, because that was the whole reason behind putting the new words in bolds, because sometimes it's hard if you read a sentence and you don't know all the words, isn't it? You can lose the whole meaning of the paragraph or even the whole page or something.
Yeah, because I have a book on my bookshelf which has so many complicated words, and I've barely understood the book so far.
Bailey, I know that you're really passionate about helping protect our natural environment, and you've created your own channel and your own profile, I guess, to help save the environment and to get kids helping save the environment as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I have created my project called Nature Heroes, and it's to teach other kids and grown-ups, basically, like all ages, how to protect a beautiful world and basically preserve it for future generations.
I'm so proud of you for doing that. That's absolutely wonderful. So what sort of advice can you give to kids who might be watching today who would like to have some tips on how to save our natural environment?
So there's a lot of things that children and grown-ups also can do. Sometimes a lot of little things can tackle the really big problem. So the first thing that I would suggest is probably recycling, because if we didn't recycle, there would be much more rubbish in landfill. Some of the things you could do, and a lot of other people can do, you can actually collect, like, think cans, bottles, and you can bring it to a containers for change refund point, and you can get a little bit of pocket money out of that. And it's really good.
That's a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. Growing your own food can actually be like tackle on food waste. And I would say to have compost or worm farms, or what my family have is chickens, and we give most of our scraps to them.
That's great. So that's the ultimate type of recycling, isn't it?
Yeah, and they really enjoy our food scraps, and then we get eggs out of it, and it's really good.
Yeah, that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, a really big win-win.
Fantastic. Those are really good tips, Bailey. Thank you so much for sharing them.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me be here and review your book. See ya.
When the sketches are done and the experiments are done and the young reviewers have read the book and given me their input, then it goes to the editor, whose name is Jane Todd. Welcome, Jane.
Morning, Sarah. Nice to see you.
So you've been an editor of all the Wildlife Wong books. Can you tell us what that actually means? What do you do?
Okay, so I get involved pretty well at the beginning, but then when you wanted to know what the editor does, so that would be at the stage where the whole finished thing comes to me. And I'm doing the basic copy editing stuff, it's called, because that's looking for things like errors in the grammar, punctuation, and making sure you've spelt things the same way and the correct way each time.
Yeah, so consistency.
Consistency. That's the main thing, is all the consistency. So if you've used a capital letter here, it's the same here. Checking captions. And then one of the main things I'm doing as an editor is it clear? Can I understand it on the first read through? And the beauty of your book, I must say, is that if there's a word I think, oh, children won't understand that, there's a dictionary at the back, or terminology at the back. And that's fantastic, because quite often people will write things and I'll think, well, I know what that means, but will
someone else
No,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
the general public know that? Or I don't know what that means. You know, I don't want to have to look it up. So I'm looking for all of that.
Really good. And you do such a good job at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So some of your edits, Jane, are grammar, and others are suggestions on how to make the story easier. And sometimes we have to discuss those to make sure that you're not making changes that change my voice.
Yes.
And things like that. Do you think it's important for an editor to be part of the process?
Yeah, because of what literally what you just said, the voice, because I can't change it for change's sake.
No.
I can change it if it's unclear or if it's incorrect or I always make suggestions. I don't do it. I suggest you change this, suggest that. But I have to be very cautious not to make it my book, because I want to write my own book. Don't write your own book.
Then go write your book.
Yeah, that's right. Don't change Sarah. So
I really appreciated working directly with you, because we work really, really well together in doing that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think being an editor, you've got to be really pernickety as well.
Absolutely.
And attention to detail. So if there are any kids out there who are pernickety and really want to be an editor when they get a bit older, have you got any advice for them?
Well, you need to get qualification, and then there are the professional bodies that you can join. There's the Society of Editors in Brisbane. You know you can do it, but you've got to prove it. There's no point in just saying I'm good at this.
No, that's really important.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing to mention for kids is that editing your work is so important. It doesn't matter what you write, even if it's for school or something like that. Editing is equally as important as writing, isn't it?
Absolutely. People think, oh, spell check will pick it up, but it won't.
No.
So you need to have some good resources. So either hard copy reference books or go online, look things up, Google stuff.
Yeah.
Just checking all the time, and not just thinking this will do, because it won't do.
It won't
As soon as somebody sees a mistake,
yes,
your credibility goes down the tube.
Doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? And so thank you so much for making the
Pleasure.
Wildlife Wong books the best they can be. I really appreciate all your
My
help.
pleasure. Nice to see you, Sarah.
See you, Jane.
Bye.
After editing, all the photos, the sketches, the reviews, and the story go to Graham Tellen. He's a book designer. He lays out the pages and makes them look really good. Graham focuses on things like not having too many words on a page, making sure the photos and the sketches are evenly spaced throughout the story, and then he makes it into an ebook. It's a big job. When he's done, the book files are sent to the printer and loaded onto book platforms like Amazon. The books are sent in Australia to a woman called Jules. Jules works for a company called Woods Lane, and they are the distributors who make sure that my books are in bookshops throughout the whole country. As you can see, there's a lot more to creating a book than just writing it. Once my books are finished, I visit schools and do workshops with children about the content. So I'd absolutely love to come to your school. When I come to schools, I'm often joined by my puppet helpers. Would you like to meet Pongo? Pongo, would you like to come and say hello? Here she comes. Hi. Pongo's an orangutan. Pongo and I introduce children to all the wonderful kids in the rainforest, don't we, Pongo? Yeah, we do. We'd love to come to your school, so let us know if you'd like us to do that. Anything you'd like to share, Pongo? Please help save wildlife. That's all you want to say? Yeah. Bye. Are you off? Okay, see you soon. Another person who visits schools with his puppets is Samsudin in Indonesia. Now, Samsudin lives in the only place where Sumatran rhinos are still in the wild. He uses his puppets to educate the local children about the importance of saving rhinos in their own backyard. Samson is going to share one of his dances with us that he does for the children in Indonesia.
Yeah, costume of rhino. Behind me, this is a box of paper puppet, rhino, elephant, etc. This
That's
is the
fantastic.
paper puppet. Yeah, this is a Javan rhino. I make this box in 2014 maybe, when I go around Sumatra from Jakarta.
Samsudin, can you tell us why you think it's important for children to learn about the Sumatran rhino and conservation?
Wildlife, especially rhino, is very important to us, to Indonesian people. They almost disappear. So I think I must go around and tell a lot of children. Storytelling in Indonesia is almost disappear. So tell the kids that they must love, they must care about that animal.
Why do you use puppets? Do you find that puppets are a very good way of engaging people?
In Indonesia, we have a traditional performance called wayang kulit. I use it so they know about wildlife.
And you're doing something that's really important for Indonesia. So well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's my full-time job. Sorry with my bad English, because
your English is far better than my Bahasa. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.
I hope you now know that Sumatran rhinos are really important, and we want to make sure that they're around when you are my age. So the last thing to do today is to read you a short story from Wildlife Wong and the Sumatran rhino. Once upon a time, a very long time ago, a gigantic beast roamed freely over much of Earth. It had two horns in a line along its nose. The horn closest to the tip of its nose was long, curved, and pointed. It was used to fight other animals or dig for food. The second horn, which sat between its eyes, was shorter. Can you imagine how heavy its head was? The beast's head had strong, humped shoulders to hold up its head. It also had stumpy legs, which helped it to balance in a fight. Earth was freezing back then. And just like your parents keep canned food in your kitchen pantry for emergencies, the beast stored fat in its hump in case it couldn't find any fresh plants to eat through the bitterly cold winters. It was good at layering clothes too. It had two thick brown fur coats, one on top of the other. The outside layer repelled water like a rain jacket. The undercoat, or the fur nearest to the skin, kept the beast warm, just like a thick blanket. Sounds toasty, doesn't it? This amazing beast was called a woolly rhino. It was perfectly adapted to its frigid or freezing environment. But Earth's climate and environment are always changing. Little by little, temperatures climbed and the ice melted. Rivers overflowed, sea levels rose, and some of the land disappeared underwater. Volcanoes erupted, spewing ash which covered the grassy plains and killed the plants. To top it off, new predators called humans arrived on the scene. They ran fast on two legs and hunted the woolly rhinos with spears. Woolly rhinos tried to adapt to suit the new world, but they couldn't keep up with all the changes. It was a bit like a granny who can't keep up with social media. Eventually, all the animals died. Woolly rhinos became extinct. Or did they? Recently, scientists who studied DNA made a very exciting discovery. DNA is rather like a recipe that makes up a species. Now, scientists extracted or took DNA from a woolly rhino fossil, which had been frozen solid in the remaining ice for thousands of years. Then they took DNA from each of the rhino species that currently live on Earth. They used a computer program to compare the similarities and the differences. The results surprised them. They discovered that the smallest rhino on Earth was related to the gigantic woolly rhino. Even though we don't have any woolly rhinos anymore, some of the woolly rhino's genetic material, which is another name for DNA, had passed down from one generation to the next for a very long time until it became a new species, the Sumatran rhino. And when Wildlife Wong learned Sumatran rhinos descended or came from woolly rhinos, he thought they deserved a lot of respect. Wong knew Sumatran rhinos were endangered. They were disappearing fast because people were killing them for their horns. They'd survived climate change, floods, and famines, which made them super resilient. But he wondered if this ancient species could survive living on Earth with humans. Wildlife Wong didn't know it then, but he would be on the front line of a battle against extinction. It all started because he loved birds. If you'd like to read more of the story, you can order a book through your local bookshop or online. Your teacher might even give you an order form. Some schools are using this launch as a fundraiser for their school, and some of the money goes back to the school. Lastly, if you'd like me to come to your school, let your teachers know. If I come to your school, we can learn together about the rainforest. We can also make masks for all sorts of animals. We can learn how to make enrichments like Wong does at the Bornean Sunbear Conservation Centre for animals. We can make electricity from potatoes. Who knew you could do that? We can make a quadrat, which is a grid that scientists use to actually count species. And we can even try to make an orangutan nest and see if Pongo can check it out. We can make a mini rainforest together that'll never need to be opened. Learn how to make a 3D map. And you can even help me act out some of my stories. And teachers, don't forget to download the free teacher guide and integrate Wildlife Wong books into your classroom. Together, we can save the world. Thank you for coming to my book launch.